A typeface is a complete set of characters, all of the letters in lowercase and uppercase, plus all the numbers and punctuation marks. A typeface may also include special symbols like the smiley face. Traditionally, a font was a subset of a typeface. It was a typeface in one particular size and style. But today, most of us use the term font when we actually mean typeface. When we say font, we mean a typeface regardless of its size and style. Let's take a quick tour of the categories of fonts and types of font attributes that you can set in Word 2010. There are two broad categories of fonts, serif and sans serif fonts. Sans meaning without, as in sans about pants. You'll set fonts by choosing a font from the drop-down list in the font group on the Home tab. Some serif fonts include Times New Roman, Garamond, Courier New, Cooper Black, and Constantia. The serif is the small decorative element, for example, at the top of the N here, or on the R, the lines at the bottom of the R's and the I's in Courier New. The serifs provide a visual line that guides the reader's eye from the left to the right down the letters. Sans serif fonts are crisper. They include no serif or almost no serif. For example, Arial has no serifs. Comic Sans has slight serifs, however, it's still considered a sans serif font. Tahoma, Verdana, and Calibri. As you look at the two different font families, serif and sans serif font, you'll note that one seems easier to read than the other, perhaps. Increasingly, the body fonts that are used in Word documents are moving away from the serif fonts that were used for years in word processing to sans serif fonts, which appear crisper on screen. Each font then can be rendered in different sizes. The measurement for fonts is called point. A point is 1/72 of an inch, and we'll set our size by choosing a number in the font size drop-down, ranging from 8 to 144. 72-point font then is 1 inch high, 36 half an inch, 18-point a quarter inch, and then the more commonly used body type sizes of 12-point and 10-point. With a 10-point font, you'll get about 6 lines to a vertical inch on the page. In addition to choosing a font and setting a font size, you can also set other attributes that are called weights. For example, bold, a bulkier font. Italics, the font leans sideways, often used for proper names of books, also used in places where we used to use underline. At one time, you'd type your text on a piece of paper, pull it out of the typewriter, take out a ruler, and underline your text. The underlined text is harder to read than the bold or italics, but it's the best that we could do at the time. Now you have other options. You'll use underline and strikeout together sometimes to show that a document is being modified. Underline for suggested additions, strikeout for suggested deletions. But most of the time you'll use bold or italics more than underline. Subscript and superscript takes the letters or the numbers, makes them 40% the size of full size, and then puts them either below or above the line that the normal font is following. Highlighting is used in the same way you would use a highlighter from an office supply store to point out areas of the text that need to be examined or that you want to note for later use. And then finally, we can set font color. We have a choice of millions of colors that you can use to make your font stand out in a document. There are some additional font attributes that aren't available in the font group on the ribbon. You can click the dialog box launcher and go to the font dialog box, and on the font tab, choose small caps or all caps. Whether the text was entered initially in upper or lower case, it doesn't matter. With all caps, it will all be in capital letters. You can also adjust character spacing on the Advanced tab in the font dialog box. Character spacing is also known as kerning. And with kerning, you ask Word to add additional space, not between words, but between the characters within a word. Here's a font kerned normally. If we take that same font and condense it, notice how all of the letters are closer together. Or if we expand it. So you might use expanded kerning for titles, for example, or for an entire document where you just want it to seem roomier. However, too much kerning, and it gets difficult to tell the difference between the space between the letters and the spaces between the words. One final font attribute. A number of the fonts that come with Word 2010 are OpenType fonts. These would be newer fonts that, when they were designed with more than one style set. The font designer said, here's one possible way that this font could look. We're looking at the font named Gabriola. It's a very decorative font, but this designer also thought there are other options for this font. More style. For example, take a look at the difference in the letter G, or in the weight given to the F's that drop below the line. This designer actually provided 6 different versions of Gabriola. Those different stylistic sets are available to you on the Advanced tab of the font dialog box. For all fonts, you can also add text effects. These are effects that we saw in PowerPoint 2007 that you can now apply to your text in Word 2010. Click the Text Effects button in the font group to open a gallery of choices, or apply individual effects. You can outline your text, apply a shadow, set a reflection, or add a glow. This would be very annoying on body text, so these effects are used for pullouts, for descriptions of visuals in your document, but mostly for headings and titles. Even if you use one font throughout your document, you can use different sizes, different weights, kerning, open text styles, and text effects to highlight important concepts or add visual interest to your document.